I think everybody, for student athletes and students too, is I think it's getting the kids excited about and having growth mindset. All it takes is an initial, like a hair of growth, and that's enough to motivate a kid to want to do more, want to get better. If we're talking about our student athletes, maybe it's go to another lift, maybe go do drills outside of practice. If it's a student, go to extra tutoring. Study some more at home. Be sure about getting your grades turned in and assignments turned in on time. So I do agree. I think that I think that correlates with both. Is developing a growth mindset.
He played 3 years of varsity football at East Gaston. He was at the center position, and he is now officially the new coach of the East Gaston Warriors. Coach Medici, how's it going?
It's going good. Appreciate you having me on.
All right, so I'm going to give you a little backstory in this podcast. So as a teacher and as somebody I've never coached like in high school level or college or pros, but I've coached like youth sports, my kids' sports, and as a male in the teaching role, I think there's a big thing about like a big crossover for coaches who coach sports and then teach in the classroom. And I think that there's a big crossover for these teachers and how they connect with students. So like, that's my whole idea of this podcast. So like when I'm interviewing these coaches, it's not about the X's and O's or what you're doing on the field or your wins or losses. It's more of like what you're doing in the classroom or how you're molding these men or girls into the future, So let's start with you as a young age. What was Coach Medici like growing up?
Well, it's kind of funny you say that. I didn't really even start playing football till I was in 7th grade at Stanley Middle. Really just wanted to play it just because some friends were and wanted to get involved. And from the very first, I remember it to this day, from the very first practice we ever had, I got hit by a kid, and he just rang my bells. And I just remember, as crazy as it sounds, that was one of the most exciting feelings, and it got me excited for what was to come, and I fell in love with the sport right away.
That's like one of those, like, they say fight or flight mentality. It's like you get, like the UFC fighters say it all the time. It's like when you get hit in the face, it's like your body does one of two things. Like you either back up and say, all right, this isn't for me, or you jump right in and you're like, all right, I want to fight. So it's funny, like you get hit in football, your bells rang, and it's like football was your thing. Besides football, you said you didn't start till 7th grade. Did you play other sports up until that point?
So I growing up in Stanley, baseball has a big youth presence here. And so played a little bit of youth baseball, played a little bit of youth basketball growing up. And then I did swim pretty much my whole life for the Stanley Swim Club here in downtown Stanley. And so that's pretty much, I've always been involved in athletics pretty much my whole youth.
Is there a coach or some type of mentor that had like a big impact on you when you were younger? Because I mean, now we'll get to your age in a little bit, but like you're 23, you're a new head coach now, but it's like somebody's had to have impacted you at some point in your life in order for you want to be in coaching.
Yeah. But when I was first started playing in 7th grade, we had our head coach was Cody Edge, and he was a fantastic guy. Love him to death. And he's now back at East Gaston, coaching wrestling with David Sides. And, he had a big impact on me because he wasn't a guy that was just going to let people get by. He instilled perfect effort into us, and he instilled working hard and a lot of other core values that, I still carry with me to this day, and that I talk to these guys at East Gaston all the time about every single day. And so he was my first coach that really had a big impact on me and, made me realize, if you want what you really want in life, you got to have perfect effort, really, honestly.
Have you ever had the point, like in your athletic career, like when you're playing, that you thought about quitting and like maybe somebody brought you back?
With my time at East Gaston playing, we weren't very good. like my freshman year, we didn't win a game on JV. Sophomore year, we won 3 games on varsity. Junior year, we won 0. And our senior year, we won 1 game. And really junior and senior year, those were kind of the tough times where it was like you're questioning what you're doing, and you're like, why the heck am I coming out here every single day, putting in this work to just get this result? And my dad was the one that he was a big impact on me. He's just, we had the saying growing up, Medici's never quit. We don't ever give up on anything. Maybe if you don't want to do it next year, that's fine, but you don't stop cold turkey. And so he motivated me to just keep pushing through. And I'm grateful he did, or I don't think I'd be here talking to you today.
So your dad's thing about, not quitting cold turkey, that's exactly like, my oldest son, Jackson, then I have another boy, and then obviously a girl. And I say the same thing, like, even if you don't want to play it again next year, we have to finish the season. Like, you're not going to quit in the middle because you got your teammates, you have your coach, you've committed to it. It's a thing. It's like, what's been the most rewarding thing for you so far, either being a coach on the field because you were the defensive coordinator this past season, or in the classroom because you are the PE teacher right now? Or is that your role at
Yes.
East Gaston? Yep. So either actually in the classroom or on the field, what's been the most rewarding thing for you so far?
And the most rewarding thing to me, and this is a coach cliche answer, but it really is true and is important to me, is the relationships. That's, take away the X's and O's, take away the drills, what we do in practice, blah, blah, blah. I do this for the relationships. I do this for these guys that are young guys that need guidance, that I love and care about. And I'm trying to push them to the right direction to become a man, but also become not just a champion in life, but a champion on the field as well. But these relationships, like with every single player and all my students, that's the number one most important thing for me. I just love being able to talk to these kids, learn about them, motivate them. That's why I do this.
So you say the thing about relationships. So now what's kind of crazy and funny at the same time is we go back, probably like a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, the former coach gets fired, right? Now, I don't know anything about what was going on other than just my son being a part of the team. And I know that the relationship you had with my son. And what's crazy is they never really posted the job, like looking for it. And I'm like, well, I think if anybody should get the job, it could be Coach Medici. I wasn't sure if anybody else would get it. And then fast forward, you get the job. So it's like the relationship thing's working out for you. Like, I'm not just saying this because you're sitting in front of me. It's funny. You were the name that, like, based on Jackson's relationship with you, and I'm assuming you have that same relationship with these other kids, and you're saying it right now, you were the choice. Like, it's just funny. Like, I don't know any of the other coaches on the coaching staff other than just people like from hearing names here and there, but you were a big enough impact that your name was brought up several times in our house. So it's just like, that's kudos to you, man, because you earned it.
Appreciate it.
Did you always see yourself working in education? Like, what was your goal? Like, if you go back to 17-year-old Medici, what's your goal for you?
Well, my mom actually is a teacher as well. She's taught at Stanley Middle School for, I think, going on 25 years now. And so my mom was a teacher. My late aunt was a teacher. My cousin is a teacher. My grandmother was involved in school. So school's always kind of been a big part of my life. And I didn't always want to be in education. But then, about my junior year of high school, I realized, I want to be a coach. I want to be a head coach at some point. And so I know I'm going to have to get involved in school. And it's funny, before I switched my major at App State to PE, I actually was going to try and be an earth and environmental science teacher. I had a teacher. She's still at East Gaston, Sherry McGee. She's one of my all-time favorite teachers I ever had. She had a big impact on me, and I love her to death. And ever since I took her class, I was like, okay, I like earth and environmental science. This is fun. And so that's what I initially wanted to teach. Fast forward to college, where I'm working for App State football, and that's literally sun up to sundown all day. That was a little bit difficult to manage that with my class. So I switched to PE, but same thing. I mean, I've always wanted to be, probably since high school, when I realized I want to be a coach, I've always wanted to be an educator too. I need that structure of school. I couldn't see myself working at an office or doing really anything else.
We'll jump into the classroom in just a second, but you mentioned like kind of always wanted to be a coach. What was the goal to be a coach? Was it to be a college coach? Was it to be the NFL? Was it the cliche thing, I want to be an NFL coach? Or was it, I just want to be a coach, it doesn't matter where?
Well, East Gaston's kind of been looked at as I don't want to say redheaded stepchild, but it's been looked at as like a promotional job for coaches. They come here for a couple of years, they leave and go to another school. And, I had a coach my freshman to junior year of high school. His name was Sean Joyce. He had a big impact on me. And I just realized what this community of Stanley and Mount Holly has to offer for East Gaston High School and the football program. And I realized, this was my dream job. Like I said, people want to come here to do a year, 2 or 3, and they go on to the next big job. I'm here for as long as they'll have me. This is the only place I want to be. This place is special to me. I walk these halls, and I have memories of me and my classmates and my best friends and my wife. And this place is just special. It's different at East Gaston. It really is.
Yeah, and that's a good attitude to have too, because I think you're going to be successful, because one of the things I've everybody talks in the community about, East Gaston and everything going on there. One of the things I said is like, you have to be somebody who's like fully invested, because as you said, I've lived here 14 years now in North Carolina. And it's just, we'll be honest, like East Gaston's the redheaded stepchild to South Point, and it's just like, no matter what happens, it'll always be that way, and it's just like, but if you're the person who, I went to school like you, I went to school at East Gaston, I'm young. I want to be here. My wife's here. My wife went to school with these guys. Like, you have, I think, what it takes to like rebuild this program. And you mentioned Sean Joyce. Years ago, I interviewed him when nobody wanted to play for the East Gaston football team. Like, I remember that, like 2012, you couldn't get enough kids to go out for it. And then it became a thing. Like, now you have enough kids. So it's like, it's there. You just have to have the community involvement. Let's jump into the classroom now. What have you taken from the field that you see translates from your coaching style on the field into the classroom for you, like into your PE classes?
I'll tell you this, because this has kind of been my big, I don't want to say humbling moment, but, when you're in a college education preparation program, they make you do 8 million pages of lesson plans. They make sure you have 8 million cues to use to teach a certain concept. And so I went into it this year fully thinking that was going to transfer over. And then my first couple weeks teaching, I was like, okay, this is we're going to have to make this a little bit more simple and dumbed down. And I got a lot of my motivation to simplify from football. We're going to focus on one goal today, one concept, and we're just going to progress slowly and surely. And so I just think, learning to simplify and, don't have the ego that you have to have these master lesson plans or these master, concepts to teach, or these master, et cetera. Just do what works. Teach the way you're comfortable and confident teaching, and you'll be successful.
Being a coach and now being in the classroom, do you see a connection with kids that play sports? They do better academically?
Oh, absolutely. It's again, funny you say this. Since we got back from break, first time we have third period football class. Since getting back from break, I told these guys right away, I was like, look, if we want to make this thing the way we know we can, everything we do has got to be to a high level, from the way, and it's cliche, but it's true. From the way we practice, to the way we walk to the locker room, the way we talk to people, to the way we do in the classroom, it all transfers. Everything matters in our program. And so they'll tell you, you could ask a bunch of them, they'll say, oh, coach is on me about my grades every single day. And so I think having a coach that puts a high expectation on and standard for grades and performance in the classroom is, I don't want to say peer pressure, but is almost pressure to perform and work hard in the classroom. And I think, people talk about peer pressure, and I think everybody thinks about bullying, but there's positive peer pressure and there's negative peer pressure. And so just that's kind of how I feel about having a coach and, holding your athletes to that expectation.
Yeah, and I agree with you about the pressure thing. So, like, I'm big in my classroom. I mean, I teach fourth grade, but I'm big in my classroom. Like, we're a team, you know? So
Hmm.
it's like when you're only as strong as the weakest link. So, like, if there's a boy or girl who's acting up or out of, it's sometimes we all got to go down with them. It's just like, and each case is different. Like if it's just one kid continuously all the time, then maybe you fix that. It's the same, I'm sure, with coaching on a team. It's like if that person continues to be the weak link, boom, he either switches position or maybe he's off the team.
Hmm.
I'm a big proponent though of the climb in sports. Like I think it's, you guys didn't have a great season last year at East Gaston, and I grew up a Jets fan. I'm a Panthers fan now, and I've been watching terrible football for like the last 30 years of my life, but there's something about the climb, like the struggle is real, but it's like you can it energizes me every season and it excites me. Do you see the same thing with sports? And then even like in the classroom, like stuff shouldn't come easy to people. Like you see them do better when they struggle and there's like perseverance they have to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody, for student athletes and students too, I think it's getting the kids excited about and having growth mindset. All it takes is an initial, like a hair of growth, and that's enough to motivate a kid to want to do more, want to get better. If we're talking about our student athletes, maybe it's go to another lift, maybe go do drills outside of practice. If it's a student, go to extra tutoring. Study some more at home. Be sure about getting your grades turned in and assignments turned in on time. So I do agree. I think that I think that correlates with both. Is developing a growth mindset.
As a coach, do you see strategies from that you do coaching that you think other teachers should connect and bring into their classroom?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing that I love and that I've implemented in my PE classroom is competitions. More competition, making people more competitive, because our generation isn't just naturally competitive. Not everybody's just got that drive to be a competitor. And so, like in terms of football, we do some kind of every other day. We do some kind of competitive one-on-one, mano-a-mano. And if you win, there's no negative reward. So if you lose, you don't do anything. But if you win, there's a positive reinforcement there. And so I think just, like, for example, it's my sports medicine honors class. I have second period. We did our Kahoot. Everybody loves Kahoot, and I love Kahoot. I think it's great. Is you split everybody up into teams. Here's the prize. Let's go. And quickly enough, you'll see how much those kids do actually pay attention and how much they actually know. Because kids they want to be competitive. They just need to be pushed to be competitive.
So you mentioned splitting kids into teams. You're coach of a football team. How crucial is teamwork? And I deal with this all the time in the fourth grade level. A lot of kids don't want to work together. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, there's a lot of people in the real world that I don't like and I don't want to work with. I've worked with people in the past I don't want to work with, but you have to work with people. Do you think everybody on the Eagles gets along right now? No, but they're playing in the Super Bowl in a week and a half. Does everybody on the Chiefs get along? Probably not, but they're playing the Super Bowl. So how important is the teamwork aspect, and how do you preach that to your students?
That's everything to me. That's literally what, that's where football is and team sports are so much different than like a golf or a wrestling or swimming. No knock on those sports, but that's what these team sports like a football, basketball, softball, baseball, that's where there's so much different is to make the thing really go round. Everybody's got to work together to achieve a common goal. And so, we preach that every single day. We do. We have the guys elect people to what we call our leadership council. And so we've got about 6 guys in our council right now, and we kind of mentoring them on how to be a leader. Because I really think every kid wants to lead. They just don't have the resources or knowledge to lead. And so that's our job, is to teach them how to do so. Because I think the best programs are player led. I shouldn't have to say a word. The other guy should hold you accountable. But we start these, I don't want to say smart lunch, but we'll meet during lunch about 10, 15 minutes during, on a Wednesday, one time a week, and we're going to talk about a topic like, confrontation. How do you break up confrontations? Or we talk about I don't want to say criticism, but providing constructive criticism to teammates.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that these kids don't learn any other way. That's super huge to me. And then if we had to put that in the classroom too, I think if you don't give your students some kind of role, sorry, I'm sick.
No, you're good.
I think if in your classroom you don't give your kids some kind of role, they don't have any kind of investment. So we've got a couple kids in my PE class in fourth period. They know they're the equipment managers. They're going to go get the equipment out for what we're doing for that day. Or we've got kids that they understand the rules really well. They can be the officials for whatever game or activity we're doing, so on and so forth. So I think just I think teamwork and leadership, that's everything. That's what makes successful groups go around.
Do the kids understand too, because I'm big in my classroom too, with everybody has a job. Do they realize how important, so I'll be honest with you. When I was in high school, everybody made fun of the water boy, that was the thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a 13 and 14-year-old boy, that's what you do. You make fun of the water boy. But now as an adult and covering sports for all the years that I did, and now as a teacher, that job is super important. And without that person, a lot of things can go wrong real fast. So how do you preach that to them? How important the equipment manager is, how important the person is that's washing the jerseys, how important the person is that's making the team schedule, how important all of that is.
Oh yeah. The thing about it is that I think they've gone so long without having some kind of responsibility. They're just naturally excited to have a pivotal role. And, we talk about, especially in the case of football, one guy doesn't do his job, it's going to bring the whole team down. And so that is a reflection of our roles as leadership and our equipment manager, stuff like that. That translates to that as well. If equipment manager's slacking on water today, we're going to struggle as a group, so we preach that everything's got to be precise and everything's got to be done with precision and detail. And so, yeah, I absolutely do think, we preach that to them every single day.
All right, let's talk about your impact now as a coach, either in the classroom or on the field. What's a story or an example of a time where you've either see a student in the classroom or a student athlete on the field grew because of you, the impact that you had on them?
So I'll tell you this. This is a story from my first semester PE body wellness class. And this kid was our water boy and equipment manager this year for us. Great kid, loves football. He comes in and tells me the college football AP poll every week, so I don't ever have to pull up ESPN. He informs me. But his goal for the semester was to learn to throw a spiral. And so we worked on it every single day in PE. We worked on the form. We worked on the technique. We worked on increasing the distance. And by the end of the semester, he learned – this is silly, but it was big for him. It was a huge accomplishment. And he learned to throw a tight spiral with accuracy and a pretty good distance. And so, that's an example in our classroom of, they set that big goal at the beginning, and it gives them something to work for every single day, and it motivates them every single day to achieve at the end. And that's just kind of an example from our classroom.
That's awesome too, because I can't throw a great spiral. I could throw a spiral, but it's not great. And if it is great, if it's great, it's not accurate either. How do you handle motivating a student or a student athlete who struggles with confidence? Because there's a lot of kids, and I see it all the time in the elementary level. There's kids that they're super confident in front of their friends, but then when it comes to something that's important, they lack that confidence.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the first things first is you got to have the relationship with them. You have to have the foundation of a solid relationship with them, know what they, who's in their life, who's not, who's involved, who's not, what they do. Have a solid relationship with them first. Because if you don't, they're not going to, one, confide in you. So anything you try and tell them is just in one ear, out the other. So that's the first thing is I think you got to have a relationship with them. The second thing is, we have some kids at our school, I try and, I don't want to say give them my 2 cents, but I try and, you might give them some advice and, they just don't want to hear it. But there's people in our building, they might feel more comfortable. So you got to provide them their resources. We have our counselors are great. A lot of our kids have a lot of good relationships with our principal and our APs. And so they feel really comfortable, which is surprising. I definitely didn't think that was going to happen. But just because, everybody sees the principal and they're just,
Yep.
get nervous like it's the dang president or something. But they just have relationships with important people inside of the building, and you got to know who they, and let the pride go. If they don't, want to talk to you about certain things or want to take your advice, just, you got to let that go. And, their betterment is number one. And so, getting them to the people they trust in and love to talk to, like an AP or a counselor or maybe a teacher. We have the best teachers in Gaston County schools, I swear to you. They love kids. They all love kids. They love, relationships with kids. It's important to them. And that's why East Gaston's so special right now. But I think that's, relationships with either yourself or someone they trust. That's the number one thing I would tell them.
What's the big takeaway that you want students or athletes to take away from their time with you?
My time with me, whether you're a student or an athlete, is I want to instill, if you don't remember, the rules of cricket by the time you graduate, that's not a big deal. But I want you to take away the values of, having good integrity, good resilience, being part of a group. And like we talked about with our team this week, we established what our core values and core principles were going to be for our program. And coincidentally enough, the top 5 responses spelled tribe. And tribe to us stands for toughness, resiliency. I just said it. I'm having a blank. Whatever. I'm
going to say integrity, but
integrity. Yes, sorry. Integrity, brotherhood, and effort. Just core values that are going to help them navigate through their life and help them be successful in life outside of the classroom. That's the number one thing for me. If you don't remember anything else, take away those important values.
Let's go a little rapid fire with you. All right, just quick off the top of your head. Don't think too hard about it. Favorite sports movie?
Favorite sport? Miracle.
Oh, nice. That's funny. That's Jackson's favorite one too. If you could coach any sport outside of football, what sport would it be?
I have to say golf.
Oh, are you a big golfer?
Love the golf. I don't get to do it enough, but I love it.
What's your go-to motivational quote?
Oh gosh, there's so many of them. I always remember being an App State guy. I'm just brainwashed App State now. Is old Coach Jerry Moore. He always said, always do more than what's expected. Do more than what's the expectation, and you'll be, you'll reach your goals. That one just sticks with me.
Who's the most inspiring athlete in your opinion?
Most inspiring athlete? Oh gosh, that's a tough question. Just because this is a tough question for me. I'm a Panthers fan. I know I'm wearing the Eagles hat, but I'm a Panthers fan, and I gotta say Cam Newton. Okay. Just all the stuff he overcame, and it's a shame his career's over now. But injury, coming back over and over and over again. That's inspiring to me.
So go back to thinking about when you played center in high school. Did you have any pregame rituals? And now do you have any pregame rituals that you did as a defensive coordinator and then things you're going to carry on now as a head coach?
When I was a player, I was all about getting amped up. So I had the earbuds in. I'm listening to Metallica, listening to some, some AC/DC. I'm a classic rock type guy. So that was my pregame ritual as a player. But as a coach, I get excited, of course, but I don't try to get myself so amped up I can't focus. So I just sit. I just sit and relax, talk with the other coaches. I don't listen to music, nothing. I can't. It'll get me too amped up.
So similar to like when people are dieting or working out, they have cheat meals. What's your post-game meal like after either a win or a loss? Because I can tell you right now, if you're anything like me, you're not eating a whole lot probably prior to a game. What happens after the game for you?
My wife will tell you this. Post-game go-to meal is either one of two things. Big double burger tray, ketchup and cheese and pickles from Cookout with a huge Coke, or we're going to McDonald's, and I love cheeseburger meal with French fries. I'm like Andy Reid. I gotta have that cheeseburger.
All right. Last thing before I get you out of here. What advice do you have for aspiring coaches? Like if you had to give something to somebody going down the road and say, hey, this is what I think you should do.
Don't worry. To me, don't worry about the scheme or the X's and O's, the drills, the practice. through your progression of coaching, there's so many good coaches you'll run into that will teach you that stuff along the way. Be about players and be about relationships. That's what makes or breaks coaches. You know, you can have a coach that knows everything and this, that, and the other by the books, but, you know, he doesn't have a relationship with his guys. They're not going to, quote, run through a brick wall for him and go play their tails off for him. You know, just you'll learn that stuff as you go. Just be about the kids. Be about the relationships. That's the number one thing for me.
You mentioned running through a brick wall, so I'll tell you like a quick story. Like, so I grew up a big Florida State fan, right? Obviously, I cannot stand Clemson. All right. Now I'll go back about 6 years ago. I'm at the ACC kickoff. I'm doing an interview, and I interviewed Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney, in my opinion, I would run through a wall for him. The guy just motivated me. I don't know, I know Clemson's been on the down the last couple of years, but the guy just motivated me. Has there been a coach, what's a coach in your life like that that's you would do whatever for them, as far as and I don't mean directly in your life, like somebody you played with. I mean, who's a coach that you watched that you're like, I would do whatever that guy asked me to do? I feel like guys like Nick Saban, everybody would do something for Nick Saban. Is there anybody that just come because me being a Florida State fan, I would never in a million years tell you Dabo Swinney. And now it's after talking to him, it's man, I would do anything for that guy.
To me, it's been around a lot of good college coaches and been around a lot of good high school coaches as well. To me, and this is personal, it's my high school offensive line coach, Jeffrey Beal. He was a guy that he was kind of like me. He was young, stepping into a big role, and people doubted what he knew or what he could get done, but he motivated us every week to perform to the best of our ability. And just the love and relationship we had with him, we went out there, we were going to be the best front five in the county, by God, because we love that man to death, and we were going to do whatever it took for us to make him look good. And that's my guy, Jeffrey Beal.
All right, the legit last question for you. So you go back to high school, your goal coming out of high school into college is, you want to be in coaching it somehow. What's the goal now for Coach Medici? What's your big end goal now?
Big goal here, plain and simple, go win a state championship.